There was one scene where, Zibby's in the bedroom and I'm sort of outside the door. And we have that sort of barricade between us, but it's not the safest place. The door can be knocked down quite easy. But when we were filming that, I just had this intuition to kind of draw like a cross on the door and really lean into the door and use that as I would be up against her face, trying to be genuine and loving was mostly just to have that. But it was nice to have that barricade because it also added to the eeriness of it.
Welcome to Survive the Shows.
Welcome everyone to this exciting interview segment here at Survive the Shows. I'm Desiree, and today we have the pleasure of sitting down with Clayton James, star of the Lifetime movie A Stranger's Child. Join us as we delve into Clayton's insight into his character and the challenges of filming this movie. Thank you for being here with us, Clayton.
Of course. Thank you very much for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Great. For me too. So, talking about your character in A Stranger's Child, how did you first connect with the characters you play in this movie? And what was your initial instincts about who is?
I mean, you kind of connected with it in like a very fun, dark, sociopathic way. It's always kind of fun to escape, your normal day to day and find a little bit of that craziness that everybody has kind of in them and tap into that fun side of it. It's obviously a safe space to play for that. Kind of American Psycho vibes and just kind of that whole facade of a guy who kind of has it all together, very wealthy, but a lot of very dark secrets as well. So, yeah.
And can you walk us through your preparation routine for this role? Research, physical training, dialect work, etc. What do you do to prepare for this work?
I mean, I kind of just went off natural instincts of like a lower baritone voice and a slower speech. It's just something that I think I saw in a few movies just in regards to not necessarily Javier Bardem, but like, in No Country, there's just sort of a dialect and baritone change of that sort of raw, sociopathic sort of calmness as well. And then it sort of presents a bit more of like an eerie presence, but, also trying to basically, basically bring it to life and make it real. You don't really want to push something too much where, people are watching like, oh, he's trying to push that character. You really want to tap into the natural side of it. And I think just slowing his body movements down, especially when there's a bit more chaos between him and his partner, it just makes it for a bit more villainous and a bit more thought out and more processed than just like approaching it with so much gusto, if that's the word, or really coming in heavy swinging and just trying to present the character of this. Oh, I'm the sociopath, because even in acting class and stuff, we talk about like every person wants to have a good day. So it's one of those things where even the crazies, pardon my terminology, but the people who have those sociopathic, psychotic sides, they're just really trying to have a good day, even if it means chopping up somebody or attacking somebody. It's their version of having a fantastic day.
Yeah. And your character undergoes significant emotional shifts throughout the movie. Which scene was the most challenging for you to film, and why?
A lot of it was more emotional intensity, but there was scenes where there's a lot of physical aspects of it too. And there was a scene basically where my wife in the movie smashed a vase over my head. And, that wasn't the hardest necessarily physically, but to choreograph that took a lot of time. So our stunt coordinator and I walked through it. And then Zibi and I kind of did a few takes, but we only had a few prop versions of the shatterable glass. And there was one scene where we were just rehearsing and Zibi just touched it and it shattered. So all of a sudden we were like left down to one or two, and we really just had to kind of get it, on the day. Didn't have a lot of takes to do it, but that was a bit more challenging because you're trying to get hit with something that shatters and then physically fall. And there's a lot of crawling on the ground. So that was a little bit more challenging. There was also some a scene where the girls are running from us and they have squibs going off, gunshots. And I think the girls, we just wasn't planned as correctly as it could have been. And so that was a little bit challenging as well for everybody, trying to stay safe, but also stay in the moment, and make it sort of believable, obviously, and have the crowd react to something that's genuine as opposed to forced.
And how has your working relationship with the director and the fellow cast members influenced your performance?
Yeah, I mean, Monica was fantastic. She was so fun. And her and Zibi, I believe, had worked on Virgin River before. And Jess and I kind of knew each other from, over the years. It was a really safe place to talk about ideas and, run things. And, I'm working with very, very talented and very, women who have made a really good name for themselves in the industry, as directors and castmates. And, it was a lot of fun to play that, and just very talented and very, very driven. And Monica had a fantastic vision for a lot of things, and also just let us play. She gave us a little bit of redirects here, but it was mostly, do your thing and then we can adjust. And I think it was a really fun film in the long run that kind of came out. So
amazing. And was there anything about your character or the story that surprised you once you saw the final edit?
There was one scene where, Zibi's in the bedroom and I'm sort of outside the door. And we have that sort of barricade between us, but it's not the safest place. The door can be knocked down quite easy. But when we were filming that, I just had this intuition to kind of draw like a cross on the door and really lean into the door and use that as I would be up against her face, trying to be genuine and loving, was mostly just to have that. But it was nice to have that barricade because it also added to the eeriness of it, which I ended up liking that scene, I think, a lot, just based for creativity and having that sort of in the moment realization of what you could do with the character and just the settings and surroundings.
Great. And reflecting on change of subject, reflecting on your work, which past role do you feel paved the way for landing this part?
The first film I ever filmed was Her Infidelity with Christy Wolf as the director, and Rachel Hunter. And I think that kind of gave me a pivotal point into playing a little bit more of the dead face sociopath character. And I've always just found that very intriguing. It's really interesting to reach inside of yourself and find that darkness. And again, you exercise it as a safe space. Like, genuinely, I'm a pretty happy, easy-go-lucky person, and I like, smiling and having a good day. But there are those days where things, as human beings, we cloud up with emotions, or we have dark times that we've gone through, and life experience just to happen to tap into frustration or anger and the ability to also mask it at the same time. Shoving it all down and then like just boiling at the surface, and on camera, when you have a camera and you're doing close up, the camera doesn't lie, so you really have to bring the genuineness to it, where you're tapping into something real inside yourself.
Great. And again, talking about your career in general, what criteria do you use when deciding which scripts to say yes to, and has that changed over time?
I mean, yeah, it's changed over time with self-tapes and with, the content. There's not a lot being made right now based on COVID, the writer's strike. There's still great stuff being made, but, the industry is quite, pardon my language for this, but saturated, in the sense that, there's a lot of people who have invested a lot of time in this, and there's not as much work as there used to be. So I'm not always as keen on some stuff, but my agent and I discuss it. If I'm really not interested in it, then there's just no point in putting it forward. So generally I'll look at age breakdown, and if it seems too far out of my age category or like I'm just not feeling it, then I'll say something. But I try my best to not say no to a lot of stuff unless it involves personal differences or political views or something that I just don't stand by. But other than that, I mean, we got to work, and so a lot of actors aren't right now, and I think it's really hard to kind of say no to an opportunity. But it also gets daunting as well, and you do get sort of that. I know a lot of my friends are doing actor burnout, and not to be negative, it's just really hard right now for a lot of actors to stay like focused and to stay motivated and bring the excitement to it, because it is a business at the end of the day, and it can be very daunting for a lot of people. And I know a lot of my friends are going through that right now. So
Yeah. And how do you measure growth in your craft? Is it through technique, the type of characters you play, or something else?
I mean, working definitely helps. Being on set, you're exercising, you're working with creative people. It really, I find I grow a lot while working on set, especially learning that, doing an audition is doing an audition, but to have things physically in front of you to utilize. If the scene's in a kitchen, you can grab a plate, you can grab a fork, you can, and your emotions or your tonality and your connection with the person is going to be different. It's different with your castmate. You might have a real connection with them, and you might not. And then so I find on set is the best growth that I have to learn. But getting back to the basics of it, it's also just finding the creativity and the excitement in doing the self tapes, and enjoying it again, because you do, again, and I'm not to say, I might sound a little bitter, but you do lose a little bit of that steam, and you lose a little bit of that passion for it, because it becomes 70 tapes that people who have done out throughout the year, and then nothing sticking, and you start reflecting, and we all got to kind of realize that it's just not, it's not us. And the best way to do it is to stay in class or to exercise, scripts with friends, get back to the basics of like when you were younger and you started doing it for passion and not necessarily just a career. So,
Yeah, great. And in this industry, who has mentored you or inspired you approach to acting, and in what ways?
I mean, honestly, all of my acting teachers have really given me a lot of different things to take away. Andrew McElroy was definitely the coach from Vancouver who kind of guided me and kept me in it when I was younger and didn't really know if, I was excited about it, but also very nervous and very green and didn't really know if it was something I wanted to do or didn't want to do. So as acting teachers go and mentors, Andrew's probably would be somebody who's really high up there for me. We haven't connected in a long time. We talk by email, but also just as a person, Andrew and I really got along. And yeah, it's Deb Podolsky's fantastic. John Cassini's fantastic. Ben Ratner's fantastic. Loretta Walsh, like just there's so many lovely people in this industry up here, and they all sort of bring their own flavor to everything. And again, like every actor does too. You learn from people and you grow. And I've worked with Oscar-winning actors before, and you see their process. And I've worked with people who are just starting out, and you see their process, and you really kind of just take away from everything. And Clooney said it the best. He's on ER for years, and he was talking about like you kind of get comfortable after a while, and then you have this like day player who comes in and they're just giving it, and you're like, oh, I forgot, and I forgot that that's how it can be at times, and you play off people and you get excited about it. So passion finds passion and creativity finds creativity, and I think that's when you surround yourself with those people, it's really beneficial.
Great. And talking about balancing personal and professional time, How do you balance the demands of an intense shots with maintaining personal relationship and well-being?
Therapy.
Okay.
Honestly, I mean, yeah, I don't know. Like sometimes it's really hard to separate, again, life and industry and creativity and real life. And I've had a lot of drastic shifts happen in my life in the last couple of years. Some that were really hard to navigate, and some that are very exciting, and some that were detrimental. And it can affect your work. But if you continue to find the passion and the creativity in the work, it can be also your saving grace. And I think that every actor has to have some sort of pain and suffering throughout their lives, and artists to bring that genuine sort of performance in every aspect of it, whether it's a Christmas movie, whether it's a horror movie, whether it's rom-com. It's we all got to come from experience. And again, that's the other way you can look at it as actors, is that, you might like the part, but you might just not be 100% right for it because somebody else brought more of their own truth, or they wanted blonde hair and you had dark hair, or they wanted brown eyes and you had blue eyes, and you just go, okay, that's just wasn't my turn. um and I'm just sort of getting back into finding the excitement of it, and having a bit more fun. I had an audition, I can't say what, but for a washed up boy band member, and I was like, all right, let's do this. Like, put a little couple fake pierced earrings in, had like a chain choker, and it was just being silly, and finding the creativity and finding the laughs in it sometimes, because it can be really daunting, again, just all these self tapes.
Yeah. And what's the behind the scenes anecdotes from a stranger's child that still makes you laugh?
Um, I we had a really good time. I mean, Brad and I, we go way back, and I've known Jess through people for a long time, and Zibi was the first time I ever met her. We just had a lot of laughs offset, being silly. I think we had a pretend baby a few times in scenes, which is always kind of comical. And we hung out outside of set and all got to know each other quite well. And I actually suffered a really tragic loss during filming of a family member. Sorry. And they were like, everybody collaborated and was very like kind to me, and so that always really stuck out in my mind, that I had a really great support system during that time. So yeah, kind of I put that into the back thing, so that's why it just caught me off guard. But it was really nice to have that support at the loss of my cousin during the time. So
Yeah. And what do you hope viewers take away from your character's journey in A Stranger's Child?
I hope they don't look at my hair in the one scene with the gun. Other than that, the aesthetics of it, I'm just making jokes, obviously, but that they just watch it, and it's a fun sort of journey for somebody to watch. And whether you love it, whether you hate it, the fact that you watch it and you find some enjoyment out of it, or even if you don't like it, I still think it's great. If you watch it and you're like, oh, that was terrible, I'm like, well, at least you had an opinion about it, and I brought some emotion to you. So but the lighting and everything it's a really fun film, and for my character, it's a lot of people got a lot of dark secrets, and it's kind of fun to watch those kind of characters go through their journey, and the fact that it gets smashed over the head with a vase is pretty fun too. So
Great. And talking about again your career in general,
yeah.
You have played a wide range of roles.
Mhm.
How do you ensure each character you portray is fully distinct from the last?
I mean, you're always kind of taking each character into the other character, and you very well could put my character from A Stranger's Child into a Christmas movie, and just tweak his cheek a little bit, and he becomes this completely different person. But yeah, I mean, you always want to bring different nuances, and I mean, it really depends, because the genres sort of shift, and that's where you kind of have your differentiations of characters. But I don't know, like, Billy Bob Thornton kind of brought it up too, and he was just like, I just bring a version of myself into different things, and they're like, well, a sling blade, and he's like, yeah, I just It's just a version of yourself that you put a mask on or adjust and adapt. And so I don't know if I differentiate too many things. It just really depends on the role of the character. I'm obviously not going to play a police officer the same way I'm going to play Bob from accounting who saves Christmas. You know what I mean? Like maybe depending on the tone of the show, but it can be different too.
Great. And about your future ambitions, aside from acting, are there any roles behind the camera, directing, writing, or producing you would like to explore?
I mean, I did write for a long time just for fun. I would like to try and get back to that. Life has just been, so chaotic, and finding the time to sit down, especially having ADHD, which I do. So, to find actually like to sit down and work on something like that is a little bit tough for me. But I really enjoy writing and having that creative side. And I would love to move into directing at some point in time. That would be very, creative and fantastic. And I hope that at some point in time I can take a risk and direct something, even if it's a short film, just to try and step out of that realm and understand things from behind the camera.
Great. And is there a director, a writer, or an actor you haven't worked with yet but would love to, and why?
I mean, there's so many amazingly talented people out there. There's the heavy hitters, obviously, like the big names that anybody would want to work with, and we all know, why.
Yeah.
Nobody comes to mind specifically. I mean, again, like I would probably just gravitate towards Tom Hardy, somebody who is like, a beast in the industry and has just played such a wide variety of these roles and these dark, roles, and is such a creative actor and so, captivating on film and in some of his roles. So that's somebody I would definitely like to shadow, or at least, understand, but he's like in a whole nother category and realm. So yeah, there's a lot of people in Vancouver friends of mine who I haven't worked with and I would love to end up working with just to collaborate as friends. So hopefully someday some friends that I've grown up with in the industry, we could jump on camera and have some fun together.
Great. And what's the biggest shift you have seen in the industry since you started? And how has it affected your career choices?
Again, like self-tapes at home after COVID. I think I don't know. It's a very interesting thing to do. I think there's so many pros and so many cons behind it all. I know actors in Vancouver who made their careers in the room. And it's really hard to put something forward for an audition. Now going from 20 potential actors to 200 to 200 plus. And I think that we're so used to collaborating with each other that taking that away or having some feedback from the casting director, is really hard at times. And so, sometimes I might just have an idea that they just weren't considering. But if you give me the redirect or you give me an idea that you're more, that's more of the pathway, well, at least I know that. And at least I can try and put my best foot forward. And I know a lot of actors sort of feel the same, but some actors are happy just, getting up in their pajamas and doing their takes and having a long time to really sit with the material and rework it and collaborate. And so again, there's like two different sides to everything. And I think that a lot of people, I don't know what the general consensus is from what I would gather, that people are a little more frustrated with the self-tapes, even producers and directors, because they like to collaborate. The reason why we're in this business is to collaborate and to bank ideas off each other. The last Zoom meeting that I had, the producer got on and he's like, "Do you know this about the character?" I'm like, "Had no idea." He's like, "Here's the backstory." I'm like, "Okay, so now I'm going to approach this quite differently." And then he's like, "Well, let's just try this. Let's just try that. Let's just try this. Let's just try that." And that's what we do on set. And that's what we do with each other. Skylar and I were really good about banking comedic ideas off each other on Help Me Todd. He gave me a lot of pointers and we had a lot of fun and it was just like in the moment. But you don't always get that with the self-tapes. And so I would say that's the biggest transition in the industry that I'm having a hard time getting used to. And I can't say I just speak for myself.
Yeah. And outside of acting, what drives you creatively? Do you have hobbies or causes that fuel you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big boat nerd. It's a very expensive hobby, but I work mechanics on my boat, and I do a lot of sort of fixing up of them and restoring them. So I literally was there earlier, and
Yeah.
working in the engine, and I'm covered in diesel and soot, and it's a love-hate relationship. I've had a real battle with it the last couple of days, but there's hopefully me and my partner and her son are going to go away this weekend and have a really fantastic weekend that's boat access only, and collaborate up there with some other friends of ours. And yeah, so that's a big hobby and a big enjoyment for me. And being in Vancouver, we have such beautiful waterways up here and such fantastic islands that you can get to. And it also kind of just runs in my blood. My mom was big into boats. My grandpa was big into boats. My dad was big into boats. So yeah, and then just going to the gym, getting outside. And I got 2 3-year-old bulldog puppies that are sitting here scratching me for attention.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to balance that out. And yeah, so yeah.
Great. And if you could revisit any past character for a reunion or a spin-off, which would it be, and what would you explore?
I probably mash up like A Stranger's Child and then a Gift of Christmas or something like that, where it's just like Christmas movie, but it's more of like a sociopathic Christmas movie. And again, the facade of the character seems good, or whatever character it is, and then all of a sudden it unravels. And so that's and again, like I really did have a lot of fun playing the character for A Stranger's Child. I think it just got me a bit more into the darker side of things, and I love shooting Christmas films. Are so fun, and people that watch them are such fantastic viewers and support systems. I don't like to use the words fans. And so that's a lot of fun. But after a while, your cheeks start to hurt because you're smiling so much, and that's not a bad thing. And then when you get into these dark characters and you get to play a bit more of a journey sometimes, or you just get to step out of the box of your norm. It's a lot of fun as well. So Help Me Todd, honestly, was probably comedy for me was great. I love doing comedy. Improv is one of my more comfortable places. And when you have the cast and crew like laughing hysterically, and a year later when you go revisit again for season 2 and they're still talking about some of your improv, it's a really fun, it's a fun thing. And I love making people laugh. I think it's laughter is the best medicine. It's kind of how I cope with some of the stuff I go through. And yeah, I remember one of our DPs just seeing me for the first time in a few months, revisiting, and she was just mentioning some of the stuff I used to say at the dinner table, and I was crying laughing because sometimes I just don't even think about it, and I say it and I'm like, what was that? You catch yourself off guard and everybody's just like, what? Laughing. And so, yeah, I love doing comedy. I wish there was more of that still.
Great. And an advice for newcomers. What single piece of advice would you give to an aspiring actor trying to break into television today?
Don't give up. Believe in yourself as hard as it can be. Find the creative side. Do theater. Honestly, I haven't yet, but I just timing wise, do theater. Stay creative. Get into some good classes, and just remember why you're doing it. Keep the fun of it and keep the creative side, and don't let that suppress. After 16 years of me doing it, sometimes I feel downtrodden and frustrated. But again, like the character yesterday, I don't know if you can hear my whiny dog, but the character yesterday, I was like, this is just gonna be fun, and I put a silly little outfit on, whether I get the part or not. It was I just had fun with it, and that's really what I personally, for me, I have to take away from, and that's what I would say to anybody getting in the industry at any age is stay creative, have fun with it, and as hard as it can be, don't take it personally, because a lot of the times it's really it's not you, and if it is, then you learn and you grow from it. And again, I think Walton Goggins said it. Somebody said it. if they don't want my version of that, well, too bad.
Yeah. Yeah, amazing. So the last question, can you share any details about projects you have lined up for the next month?
Honestly, I would love to say that I do, but it's the industry is quite slow to start again this year. There's a lot of political things involved over here, finances, and I won't, speak of somebody that's down south, delegating a lot of what's happening up here. I try to stay away from that. But I think there's a lot of impacts right now of what's happening. A lot of people are trying to play it safe with finances and film, just based on all of the empty threats and everything that's sort of been thrown out there. But still getting wonderful projects for tapes. And yeah, it's nothing lined up, but still very hopeful and still excited to audition and put my hat in the ring for some of these roles. And so hopefully something comes up, and you can see my blue backdrop in behind me here is just basically for taping. So if it's still up and the TV's off, then I'm busy enough doing tapes and finding that creativity and again trying to get back into class and maybe doing a play coming up. So
that's great. So this is it. Make sure, all of you, to coach a stranger's child next Sunday night on Lifetime channel. And thank you, Clayton, to join us today.
Thank you very much. It was always a pleasure.
For me too. And thank you all for watching. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.